A leaking gearbox. We've got some very small oil leak from the front. I don't have a flash right now, my phone's low, but you know, the main belt drive, crankshaft pulley, there's a seal behind there. You know, everything's got to come out to do that regarding the timing. Now, what this video is about is, you know, as you know, you get people stopping you in these cars. I have had an old man saying, "Hey, do you want to swap cars?" And then you've got the other STi brothers out there. One stopped the other night, asked me what's going on with it. His mate just blew an engine up at 3,000 kilometers. The turbo pissed the coolant out from the feed flare, from the flare on the oil, on the feed line for the coolant, or maybe it was from a part of a flexible hose. I'm not exactly familiar about how the turbo's fed. It's visible partly, but turbos do have coolant circulating in them. I'm not sure. He didn't know much about cars, but whether it was from a flared fitting. Now, just remember, Qantas flight QF35 from Singapore blew an engine up. I mean, there could have been the worst air disaster, you know, and it was all about a shitty, the flare on the oil feed line to one of the central bearings in the Rolls-Royce engine. The metal was a bit thin where they flared it. So, you know, when customers say to me, well, you did a service and now this is gone. Well, why did the shuttle blow up? Why did the Airbus blow an engine and the fan case never contained the failure? So that aircraft had hundreds of millions of dollars of damage, and it's a fantastic story. And those pilots, I mean, I've got mates that are pilots, they know that. I've forgotten his name now, but he brought that plane down with 50-something alerts. So that's why as well, I'm not jumping up and down, and I'm kind of not surprised the car has issues. I didn't expect it, but it's not something, I mean, I do see this sort of stuff all the time. So you've got an STi brother that his other brother got a new engine because of a coolant leak. I've mentioned we do not have an overheat light. It's quite hard to see the gauge. You know, you smell coolant, it smells a bit sweet, or, you know, you got to keep an eye on these cars. It is a high performance car and that can be prevented, but if you're going to piss all your coolant out near the turbo, you might see steam as well. All common sense stuff. Now, even worse, or just as bad, his other mate has pools of engine oil under his STi. The other car has about 6,000 kilometers on it. Also, about a month before I bought this car, I noticed in one of the videos where they take 10 or 12 STIs around Laguna Seca on YouTube, there was a pool of oil on the floor, and they didn't mention it. They just turned the camera to that pool of oil, and it sort of subliminally sat in the back of my mind. At the time, I thought, oh, it could never be the STi leaking the oil. Well, yes, it fucking is. And when I rung Subaru, I said, have you heard of this before? And they said, never, right? It's the underbody treatment on the gearbox. So, as I reveal to you more about what happens next week, let's bear in mind the initial response from the guy booking the car in, not the foreman, is that it was the underbody treatment. Now, the salespeople know nothing about these cars. They actually told me it's got a new timing chain engine, which when I opened the bonnet, I showed them it didn't. They don't even know how many little things this car's got in them. But on top of that, they don't realize when they tell me it's the underbody treatment, and I'll make another video about the data dot stuff. Look around your car and everywhere. I don't have a flash right now, but like on the ABS pump here, you'll see this spray, like this funny, like blob of like glue. It is all over the car, on every shock, every subframe, every single thing. That is data dot technology. It's also in all the paint. So when you go under the car or throughout the engine bay, in certain places, you're going to see this blob of like this, someone's like spat a golly there, and it's dried up. And I worked out it's data dot technology. So yeah, don't confuse yellow waxy sort of stuff to oil leaks. Now, there is a lot of covering under the car, right now the gearbox leaking is spreading. The gearbox leak is spreading on the aerodynamic paneling under the part of the gearbox, which is covered. So you're going to be a little bit hard pressed if you're going to wait for oil to drip on the floor. That's not really always the case unless the leak is extremely severe. So yeah, keep an eye out in the warranty period. Definitely have someone service it at 5,000 Ks. Do not look at that 12,500 bullshit that's written up here when you buy the car. I mean, city conditions are actually severe driving conditions in any vehicle. So all of that, it's not at all, correct. Here we go at the jittering again. The video's jittering, but yeah, that's the story with the 3 issues. And I'll make another video